can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. We can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. We can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. Can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar.
Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of Raising the Bar with A.D. Robinson. And this is a special episode because it is Father's Day.
Yay.
This is going to be real fun. I'm going to tell you that right now. By the time you see it, it may not be Father's Day, but what the heck? Who say it has to be a day, right? So
every day.
So I got this special man with me right here by the name of Anthony Randall. And I call this man my dad, my father. Say what's up to the people.
What's up, people?
Man, this guy's so funny. I tell you. I just really wanted to bring him on because he gave me wisdom, and then he gave me a knack, or he gave me a hunger to want wisdom. In some way, you kind of made me curious growing up. I used to always want to ask him questions, and he always tell me to look it up to this day. But it seems like you want to give me everything now, right? Give me all the answers.
I guess.
He always told me to look it up. So I wanted to bring him on because, first and foremost, this show is geared towards leadership. And one of the key leaders or leaders' responsibility in the household is fatherhood, a husband and fatherhood. Or is it that way?
Yeah, we do it in all different types of order now. But scripturally, there was an order that it was meant to be done in.
That's husband, right?
Yes.
Husband and fatherhood, right?
Yeah. Supposed to be. But, hey, if you're not married, we're going to wing it.
Okay. Well, Dad, hey, I got 3 questions for you.
Okay.
This time you can't tell me to look it up because you...
I might Google it myself. Let me get...
Because now,
make sure we'll...
now you got to give the answers. Okay. The number 1 question: what does it mean to you to be a father?
Wow. Now that is a deep question. It's almost asking a lady like, how is it to have a baby? You can't really get a lot of different answers, but until you're there, then this experience is miraculous. It's growth. You know, with growth, sometimes there are pain. There are sometimes struggles we go through at our pace as being fathers. You can't measure it. You know, it's just like a guy saying, okay, how far is it to run? It's according to where did you start running. You know, so the definition of fatherhood is going to mean a lot of different other things. It's according to where you started. For me, and a lot of gentlemen from where I'm from, we was ill-prepared. We was not prepared for fatherhood. We didn't really know the depth of what it was to be a father. But for me, you know, the main ingredients is, first, you got to self-discipline yourself. You can't give a kid something that you don't actually have.
Right.
Then, you know, everyone would say, well, you provide, protect, you know, it's a lot of other things, you know. But not to be evasive, but I am. Fatherhood is nothing. What I would suggest, if you don't have any kids, I would suggest work on you and work on actually being a good spouse. Because I think a good father would be a good husband. So if you have the material to be a good husband, try to figure out what it is that you need to do to provide for this woman. And if you can provide for a woman, then the child is going to actually be easier. With the child, you say, go here, go there.
Right.
Try that with a woman. It doesn't work, so it's a lot of compromise. It's a lot of improvising. It's a lot of growth. It's a lot of give, a lot of take in relationships, you know. So I suggest it's a lot of other elements that you should have before being a father. Right. You know, being a good father just a part of being a good father.
Right.
You know. that just, you can teach the kid how to ride a bike, you can do all these things, but if you can't teach them self-love and how to relate to another woman, then pretty much you're doing it backwards.
Man, a lot of what you said pretty much answers in some of the questions that I have. And first of all, the first question I asked you, you can pretty much tell by my question that I'm not a father. I'm not a father. So the questions I'm asking is pretty much questions for myself. And, there are guys who don't have the resources, the know-how. And like like you said before, you said it depends on where you're starting from.
Exactly.
Now you started as a young father, right?
Yeah, I started as a young father with no example of being a father. My father wasn't in the home. My father was a player. So I thought the definition of being a man, every guy want to be like their father. Do as my father did, And a lot of times I've heard older guys tell me things like, well, you're a poor rat if you don't have but one hole. Is this kids watching this?
No.
Okay.
Let's keep it real.
Okay. If you don't have one hole. So what they're saying is it's a poor man that only has one woman. So in our culture, when I was growing up, we was actually taught how to disrespect. Until I had some examples. I had, brother-in-laws who really made me take this thing serious. I didn't see a serious man until I met my younger sister husband, who was really serious about relationship, held me accountable to my relationships. And if I was to cheat, he would call and tell. So I really started re-examining what a man is. Then if we go back to the scripture, there's a lot of things that God gave man responsibility even before the woman was here. So we have to go back to that. He taught them how to work.
Right.
He taught him the character of, he had to actually go out and name animals, so he taught him a lot of other skills before he would even receive the wife. So I think we're doing it backwards. We're having the kids and trying to figure out, hey, how do I be a good father? So if you've been a terrible baby daddy, then you already start off by being a terrible father.
Oh man, so much going through my mind, because what I'm grabbing from that is pretty much how we treat our women. It reflects.
It reflects on the kid as well. So if you treat your woman terribly and you have a son, you best believe. Unless there's someone who's going to intervene in his behalf along his journey, then, apple don't fall far from the tree.
Man, that's crazy. I think that's why we have a lot of feminine groups and all that going on, because we haven't really stepped up in some areas as far as treating our women.
Exactly. Well, culture tell us how to treat our women. It's to the point where the women call each other hoes and bees, and that's acceptable. When I was coming up, we couldn't say the N-word because it was disrespectful. Now to greet your brother with the name N-word, it's acceptable.
Right.
So until we go back to grooming ourselves as community, let's first start with individual. Then we start raising our kids with pride and respect.
Man, that's heavy. So you saying that, because what I'm hearing is order. So if God wanted us to have kids first, he wouldn't put the woman first. It would have been father, then kid, and then wife or woman.
Yeah.
So we have to learn the order first, learn how to treat our women.
Exactly. Actually, it's a sin in the sight of God to have a kid before you marry the woman. But we all have faults. We all have shortcomings, So this is not anything meant to be judgmental, because we're all sinners.
Right.
But there's an order, and anytime we start to do things outside of that order, then the journey becomes a little more strenuous.
Man. So to be a good father, treat your women right. Treat your women right. That's what I got from it. Maybe that's the answer to the second question I have. What are some of your suggestions to young fathers who probably have no clue of what it means to be a father, and what are some of the resources that they should look into?
Okay. What I found out, what I tried, work. And I figured if as long as I was working and actually putting food on the table, I was being a good father. But I'm learning that it's better to lower your environment. So, well, what I mean by that, don't work 2 or 3 jobs where you don't see your kids. Because the time that you miss raising your kids, you can't recapture that. And that's an opportunity for grooming and education. So fathers don't work so much where you don't spend time with your kid and interact with your kids. You know? What I found myself doing, working so much when I got home, I was frustrated with kids. You know, so if I had to do it over, I wouldn't chase the dollar as much as I did. I would actually spend more time grooming my kids.
I think that's a word for me. Being married with no kids. Stop chasing the dollar and just focus on being a husband and providing for my wife and making sure she have everything she needs, so that when I do have kids, it's consistency there. Exactly. I just roll it over to my kids. That's a lesson in itself. So just work on it. It's one of the key things.
And also not just that. When you start dealing with provision, make sure you're prepared in whatever field that you're going in. But what sometimes we forget is we overwork. We forget that we are waterers and planters, but God gives the increase.
Right.
And the increase doesn't come by how hard you work. The increase comes by how much knowledge that you absorb. You know, God would love to take you from plane A to plane B, but where you find your encounter with God is in the journey between plane A and plane B.
Man, I always say to that, you know, to respond to that, I always say, whether on Instagram or Facebook, I hashtag be more to do more. And what I mean by that is like, the Bible talks about being filled with the Spirit. Let God consistently fill you with His knowledge, with His wisdom, and let Him shape you so that you can do more and do more for your community as well, right?
Exactly.
Man, that's, and see, and you know, I think all of that is the spirit of a father, you know, when it comes to that, because even in the community, I think we're missing that spirit.
Exactly. And it comes with time. I had a young man call me before. He said, "Sir, I just had a baby. The baby cried all night. How do I stop the baby from crying?"
Oh man.
And I say, "Sir, this is not time to change the baby. This is time for you to change.
Ooh.
The baby's not going to stop crying. This is time for your growth to adapt to a baby crying." So a lot of times we try to change our women, we try to change our kids, but a lot of times it's time for us to adapt to the situation. Wow. It's not about their change. If you're consistently working with someone and they're not changing, that means God is calling a change in you.
Should we go any further, man? I'm trying to chill. See, this is what I've been getting all my life. These are heavy jams, and I'm at the third question. How long we been doing this? 14 minutes?
Oh wow, I was going to say about 45 seconds.
That's it. It seems like we've been 5 minutes. That's what I'm thinking. What impact does fatherhood have on our community?
Wow.
And I asked you this because we talk about, it's probably where a lot of the meat of the conversation is, because we talk about this all the time about, you know, how Section 8 back in the day and all that. But anyway, I'm gonna repeat it just in case you lost it.
Yeah.
What impact does fatherhood have on our community?
Okay. And like I said, we can go back to that what we was talking about in the 70s. What was done to a community, I would say a community. I don't believe in division.
Amen.
I believe we all called to be one. What was done for a woman to receive assistance from the government, the father couldn't be in the house. My mother received assistance, and the guy would come, look under the bed. He saw me in shoes. Then he said, "Who these shoes belong to?" You have to say my kid. Sometimes they say, "Call your kids." They see the kid.
Wow.
You know. So the system was designed to take the father out the neighborhood. Take the father out the family. But it's very important for the father to be in the family because he gives structure. He gives discipline. And I'm not saying that the woman doesn't do that, but there's a role. You know, there's a reason why it took two to make a baby.
Right.
So that's the impact. I've supervised on a job, and I've had guys come through, and I can pretty much tell you which guys was raised without a father. And usually those the ones who show up 20 minutes late. Those the ones who leave half a day early. So I really see what's missing in our community, and it started to economically cause an impact.
Wow.
With no directions, they're just winging it. I go to work if I feel like it. I won't go to work if I don't feel like it. I can just tell the boss I'm sick. So there's no work ethics that I found. But I found that the guys who were raised without father, many of them are shorter work ethics.
Man. So no work ethics. I struggle with that word.
Let me see where you get it from.
And just structure and self-discipline. And I think that's the spirit of the father that we need and that we should value, that brings not only love, but love in discipline and in structure. And showing you what work ethics is. So I think that's what we need, and we should just cherish that and honor that.
Yeah, I think we should, but it's still just a part of what that child's need. I always say strong father, but there's times I was lacking with the motherly love. So both parents are needed.
Right. Definitely.
Even though we can say this is what a father does, but it's just part of what that child needs,
True.
Coming up. So I would suggest any guys to think about having kids, work on your relationship, work on your communication skill with the woman
Right.
And I tell a lot of young guys that I deal with, you can't be a homeboy and a man at the same time. So they try to bring their player skills, to the job site, So work on yourself.
That's a lot of knowledge, Dad, and I can see how being a father, being a husband, how you treat your wife, how you nourish your wife and your kids, how all this bottle up into what we call leadership. And I think that if we can capture this, and I think women too, they can capture it, and they can actually learn to lead with all this information here.
And that's what we need to do. We need to go back to communities and start building. Then once we start building families, we can start building communities.
Right.
When we was younger, we didn't have to call a babysitter. My mother had an issue. She said, "Y'all go down the street, Miss Shirley."
Right.
We had community.
Right.
And that's what we're lacking right now. But it first started with the man. And that's why God created the man first. And the life is in the blood, you know. So you start with the man. If you have a strong man, then you should have a strong following. It should be strong for you.
Oh, leadership tips. Well, guess what? We almost at 20 minutes. We made it.
Okay, do we need to sing or tap dance or
Nah,
something?
a reason I'm laughing is my dad and I, we're so brief. But the gems are heavy. We'll drop it on your leave. That's it. And I really appreciate you for joining me on this episode, a special edition of Raising the Bar with A.D. Robinson. Dad, you got anything else you want to say? Where the people can find you?
Oh, well, not the people find me. I was just trying to figure out when to get paid. I mean, this is not charitable.
Oh, my gosh. My dad, y'all. Anthony Randall. You can find him on Facebook. Go follow him on Anthony Randall.
Follow me at your own risk.
At your own risk.
You've been warned.
Yeah, he's gonna speak his mind on Facebook. Definitely. He always spoke his mind. He's gonna speak his mind on Facebook. So yeah, follow him at your own risk. And again, Dad, I appreciate it. Love you, man. Happy Father's Day.
Well, thank you, sir.
It is a wrap for Raising the Bar with A.D. Robinson. You guys have a good night.
Well, thank you.
We came far, but we ain't far. Flame cigars, we gon' raise the bar. We came far, but we ain't far. Flame cigars, we gon' raise the bar. We came far, but we ain't far. Flame cigars, we gon' raise the bar. Came far, but we ain't far. Flame cigars, we gon' raise the bar.